Hello, welcome back to my channel. I thought I'd do a little fun collection of the different types of journals that I have used in the last probably, I think it's going to be a year and a half, just because the first one that I started with on this channel is the Busy Days Planner. So we'll start with my kind of tarot journaling, which has led me down a weird, wonderful rabbit hole of all sorts of other types of journals. And we'll have a look at what may have kind of, I don't think I've got a journal graveyard, but because I wouldn't allow things to not be used. So I've used the things I have, but I found systems that perhaps fit or are more streamlined to my current lifestyle and work better. However, many of these I probably could quite happily go back to using if push came to shove. So if we look at my tarot journals and the evolution of this to this with these in between. Okay, this was, anyone who's watched my very, very early start out videos, this was a Busy Days planner, which is the UK equivalent to Happy Days planners, I believe. And it's by Box Clever Press. Now, I think she stopped doing these, which is why I didn't buy any more. And it's the disc bound system, so I upgraded my discs and I had two of these and merged them all into one, which is where I ended up with, I think, more in here than I would have had otherwise, if I remember correctly. So it was a standard diary, and I used it as a diary to start with, and I never finished it and found it was a diary graveyard. And then journaling happened for tarot, and I started sticking and scrapbooking over what I had in here and turned it into a tarot journal. And I found different ways of using the pages. I just wrote over the pages with various spreads, what my intentions were for the month, decks I was using, cards of the month, and slowly found ways to use these pages as well. And it was just literally as good as it gets. And I just went through doing that. And this would have been May 2020. So I was drawing over the dates as well. Heavily inspired at this point by Boho Tarot, and I can't remember her name, Ouroboros. She's deleted her channel now, but she had an amazing channel. I think I want to call it Anna at Ouroboros, and she was doing a waterfall spread, and she also was a psychologist and did some really thought-provoking videos. And I understand why she did it. She actually did a video to explain her reasons for why she was deleting something she loved in order to go through the lesson of losing something and the process of grieving, if I'm quoting her correctly. It was a long time ago. So yeah, but I would have loved to have seen her channel carry on evolving, because she really used to push your thoughts and processes. Anyway, what I found with this was that you could get a hole punch and you could create your own pages. And I started making my own pages for spreads and things. Originally, I was going to make spreads that I would use every month and move them through. So it was meant to be so that I would take them out, because you could just take them out. You've got your mushroom punch, and then you just clip them back in onto your spiral, and off you go. That's what I was going to do. And then I found that I was becoming addicted to just making the pages and taking me away from using the journal. So we went in and out of what I was doing there. My whole process kept changing from taking pictures of my cards and sticking them in, to not sticking them in, to creating keys, to doing one card per day, then week ahead, month ahead. You can see here I started squashing things in. Everything was getting a bit cluttered. We were still doing spreads over here, so it was all a bit crazy. We had oracles for the week coming in, and my pages were just very cluttered. These ones I was using them to do my full moon spreads and my new moon spreads, and any other things that I was wanting to put in here. And then it just, yeah, it started to evolve. And then we have another spread. And I started to settle on something that you've seen for the last 12 months, definitely, which was my week ahead spread with a reflective kind of process in there. So this was one card per day in advance, And then I'd have a significator for how the week was going to be. The significator would be your energy card for many of you, which could therefore be an oracle card. It didn't have to be the base of the deck, but I used the base of the deck. And that was how I was working, and I found that was really good. And then I'd pull 2 separate oracle cards for my workings. And that became a pattern over the months for me. And you'll see that the Ethany spreads are always in here. Then I started creating my keys in here to see what my daily pulls were, so I could visualize at a glance what was going on. That was nice. And you see we're still making spreads in here. I started to get a little bit more colorful with what was going on. But the whole printing of the cards, because I ended up saving them to print 1 sheet at a time, like here, for instance, I just ran out of ink and I stopped being able to print them. So those cards never got stuck in. And again here, my cards never made it. So we moved on to, let's not print cards and let's just stick with keys and pens and, doodling. And that is how we got to where I kind of am today. Now there are the monthly cards here because that's for my calendar spread and they were already stuck in. I printed those all out on a sheet and cut them out and stuck them in. I started doing things where I was watching videos and people were doing all sorts of tracking and trackers in these things, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm missing a trick. Perhaps I ought to be tracking things. And I started moon cycles, emotions. So I started putting things down for emotions and tracking emotions and hormones and all those other fabulous things. And people were also doing, money trackers and reading trackers and sleep trackers. I mean, I think there's a point for me where there's journal overwhelm and it all becomes a bit too much like schoolwork or homework, and schoolwork and homework never, ever inspired me to want to do or can continue or create or do more. So this is where I got to. Some days I did some really so this is October 2020. Gosh, that feels like such a long time ago, although I remember doing this page and it only feels like last year. It's the year before. Oh, that was scary. So yeah, I did get flamboyant with some of my pictures and what I was doing, and I bought some papers and cards to inspire me with where I was up to. But yeah, I liked that month. That was one of my favourites, October. So end of 2020, we were still doing the same thing. Here we go, week ahead. Just different ways of doing it. My 2 cards, in fact I've got 3 cards here. And a lot more writing, getting to know the decks and doing things with them. We have December, and you can just see things that I'm still doing now. So this book was probably, these first 6 months or so were the foundation to what I've done throughout most of 2021, and probably again what will go through most of 2022. And with that, there'll be things that change, and I'll probably bring things back in that you see in here and take things out that I'm doing at the moment. So it's a really curious kind of journey. And then these pages are full of brown paper, because I just use up what I have lying around in order to cover over what was once there. And you can see I rewrite the dates onto the days, even though I wasn't actually using the days. So I love the fact that I even bothered to do that, and I'm not even making use of them. So that's why these pages are a bit more scrappy, because these ones, if you see, this is January through to, I think it was March, that March, that I used this as a diary in 2019 and stopped using it then. So that's why I've got so much heavier stuff stuck over to cover up what was going on, so I could make my own notes and things moving forwards. And then April, still got some sticking over everything, but it was kind of petering out. And I think this was just a lot easier for me to do. And for those of you who are familiar, there's my key that I moved throughout the months with me. And on the back of this, we have the moon phases. And some ideas there from one of Ethany's videos on YouTube about her daily tarot practices and things that she does. So I just wrote that down there to give me kind of inspiration every morning when I sit down with the cards, if I get stuck, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and questions that I can ask. Now in April, I think I did it before this, but you can see quite clearly, when I was pulling my oracle cards to go with my week ahead spread, I wanted reasons for them. So I was pulling, this is from a couple of different decks. So my inner landscape, what's going on inside, I'd pull a card for that to see what's going on throughout this week inside. What's going on around me, what's going to cause and effect with me, basically, from external factors, things that I can't control. So I do an outer landscape card as well. And here we've got an extra base energy card and my Wednesday check-in. So there we go. That's what's happening with my oracles. Outer, inner, Wednesday check-in. And that is my first ever full and fat tarot journal, which I love this system. I do love this system. I may well come back to recreating one of these, but time will tell, because this does take time. Actually, this one took time because I had to do so much covering up and doodling. So this one went from May 2019 through to the end of April 2020. So from there, I needed a in-between planner, and I moved into a traveler's notebook, which holds multiple booklets. And this has evolved. So this is my current usage of this, and I'll show you in a minute what's actually in there. And in there we had these, which are some of my completed books that have come out. But we're concentrating mostly on the tarot journal here. And I ended up getting May and June into this one. Now I did watch back a video, which is what's inspired me to do this video. And in that video, I expected to get 3 months in here, which it makes me chuckle now when I look at what I've actually fitted in, because there's no way July was going in as well. And I started out and I decided I was going to use a little pack of fine tip pens, and they, I can't even remember the name now, but they came in a pack of 4, which is blue, black, red and green. And that was it. That was all I was going to use, because they tucked into my traveler's notebook and I could carry them around with me. And in here, so for the May, I was doing a month ahead spread, a 3-card reading for the week. This is May last year. I was doing Wednesday, touch base or weekly check-in, whatever you want to call it, prompt. And then Friday was weekly wisdom or weekly reflections, you know, what I've kind of missed or learned in the week. And then Sundays, what do I need to know today, was my Sundays from looks of this. And that's how it went throughout. And then my doodles just got more or less. I got stickers, which I still use now. In fact, I've ordered more of these little stickers. You can get them on Etsy. I ordered them from a shop, which I'll show you if I can find the name. I've stuck in spreads. And we got through to June. I have a month ahead spread changed again. Oracle overview. Then we have Wednesday check-ins, my week in reflection, check-in again, self-check-in, Monday week ahead spread, self-check-in, week in reflection, a monthly spread. So this was the first time I think Dawn Michelle did a monthly challenge, actually. And it was called Make It Magical. This was her Make It Magical prompts in June. So that was her pages there. Then we have the moon spread, back to Make It Magical spread. So you can see this is where I started colour coordinating things. Again, here we are with the Make It Magical prompts. So I think this is basically why my book filled out, was because we did the Make It Magical prompts. There we have another moon spread. Make it magical. Back to my standard journaling here. And some random spreads that I wanted to do. We've got Friday reflections. No, check-in. It's just a lot plainer than normal. Yeah, so there we go. So that was May and June 2021. So with this was my traveler's notebook, standard size. And I also did start back in, no, I started in the August 2020, Plan It Perfectly. And this was a form of writing your goals for the month, like writing them as if you own them, being mindful intentions, and then splitting your day up and pre-writing it in advance. So this actually took a lot to do, and just decorating your pages with some tape and things to break them up, make it look pretty. And this was all based on kind of manifesting the life that you want. So instead of writing it in retrospect, you wrote it in advance. So that was quite difficult, because what I've started to find was when I pre-wrote my days, I failed sometimes. So what I wrote on the pages didn't happen. And that person inside me who needs to achieve or feel like they've achieved couldn't, if they were missing what was going on. And I did this through to January 2021, but I think I started to, because obviously I fitted 4 months into here, so I must have changed something about what I was doing. But I know I had to start tracking my food in this one, so it was easier to split this one up. And I think it just became a retrospective in the end. So I'd pre-write my dinners in, because I knew what I was having for dinner, so I'd separate and pre-write my dinners in, and then I'd just come back and fill in the bits that happened before I went to bed. So it became a bedtime journaling kind of habit. And what I started doing was using the washi tape to mark my weeks on the sides, because then I could see that that was all 1 week. And I'd split my pages up differently depending on how I needed them. So sometimes it'd be 4 days across 2 pages, sometimes 1 day, sometimes 2 days, or a day per side. And that was how I used those. That was the Plan It Perfectly method, which I found had its place at that point in time, but wasn't good for my own mental health, to be fair. And in my journal, I also had my psychic development books, which I was keeping. I'm not going to show you a lot of what's in here, but these were, every time I attended development circles, psychic circle, I would write up, you know, how I felt, what was going on. And sometimes that even came down to sticking pages in. We did like automatic drawing and things, you know, connecting trance circles. So I really find those useful. I've kept those ones to remind me and to look back with. But that was moving my tarot journal on. Then I had this one, which you've all seen and you know and love, I am sure, by now, if you've watched the last 6 months of me. And you're probably sick of it, but this is what I moved into. So July 2020, we moved into my Stalogy half year A5. And this is the one that you've all seen me do, and I've got monthlies, regular monthlies on this, whereas my other ones weren't so much regular, as just occasionally would like have a flip through. This is the one that you've seen almost religiously for the last ongoing section of my channel. So we had that one, and then from 2020, because this one finished in December a couple of days ago, I have my 2022. And you were probably wondering, how is this one working? I know I showed you my pre-page setups, and it's just still working exactly as I said. So my calendar spread gets written in here, nothing else, nothing more. My card of the day is here, and words that kind of jump to mind to help me build my keywords for the cards, just as I work through. And that is a practice that anyone who does tarot should be doing. You should be pulling a card a day and writing a word to go with it to build your own keywords. My week ahead spread is in here now. So 3 cards pulled. I've written about 3 cards, and I've wrote what that means to me. And then Friday, I will pull a card and write lessons missed. However, what I won't be doing on Friday is printing out the card. So I'll just be reflective here. And then I've drawn in, so spreads that have taken my fancy, I have drawn in. I've written this one up, as you can see, communing with your deity, or, you know, your universal spirit, your guide, whatever word you wish to choose to put in here, you can do, and you just transfer it into the spread. And this one is by at 2020tarotselfblog.com, and it's a 11 card spread. The New Moon in Capricorn by Ethany. So that one I drew out and came back to do. I actually got time to complete one. Yay! I've been a bit bad at those the last 2 months. Somebody shared a guidance from the Goddess spread. So 1, 2, 3. I think I watched this one on Benable Wed, possibly. I can't remember. Anyway, I've put it on here ready to use throughout the month. When I have a chance, I will come back to it. Another one that I've shared is a spread called Something Old, Something New. It's a New Year's spread. I don't know, on the snapshot there was no name, so I can't give credit to the person who created this spread. So that's why I've kind of got my hands semi over it. And then I did my answering all the 10 questions and then my thoughts here. And I decorated the page with some polka dots, which I found quite meditative. And I haven't drawn anything else in here, right? So this is how I'm working through 2022. So how is this one now fitting into my life if I've abandoned it? I haven't abandoned it. So I still have the business book in here that I have. My deck interviews. Well, for those of you who saw this, Chris at Elemental Cartomancy does a deck interview spread. And he shares it as well live on his channels. So I wrote down his questions. The idea was, having never really interviewed my decks, I planned to go through my decks and interview them all. And I did the Hush Tarot. And that was it. So far, that hasn't really come much into play in my life. Then I have my book here for studying astrology, which I've been doing with Michelle from Ethany's Coven. So that's that one, which I keep in here. My tarot spreads and questions. I've shown this before. In this one I have, so if I want to pull a card today, I just have prompts ready. You know, when you're just not feeling inspired. 2 card spreads, 3 card spreads, shadow work spreads and prompts. I have 3 cards using Oracle and Tarot. Other prompts here. This was from Witchy Tracks last year. And these are, again, 3 card prompt spreads. So I wouldn't write it out when I can stick it in. So 4 cards, 5 cards. And I've got that for lots of difference. But I haven't written in, to be fair, all of those different spreads I have. I can just go back to my journals and look at them rather than writing them in. And then I have pages of question prompts. So just lots of questions that I can use again into my journal for what I'm up to. Triomphe della Luna and Tarot de Marseille notes. Plan it perfectly again. So here is basically first few pages of Plan It Perfectly, and then it just became my spiritual journey. So this one just became my notebook, my ideas book, where I was jotting things into as I was moving through the months. And I still use this if I'm online, I'm on a course, or I'm on a call, and I just jot down information for whatever it is that we're doing. I'm nearly at the end of it, and in the back is still my 31 Days of Tarot challenge, which was I think 2019 Tarot challenge there. Books and audiobooks that I've got read rather. These are completed, not ones that are in process. Podcasts and YouTubes that I follow. YouTube is the yellow, blues are the podcasts. And when I say that I follow, I use that loosely. The podcasts I really haven't followed since probably May last year. The YouTube channels I do still follow. But life's getting very busy, and films that I've enjoyed and watched. And then my fear of missing out list is still growing. And in the very back there we go, look, my new Development Circle book, which I haven't been able to get to since end of July. So that's a bit disappointing, but never mind. So this is still in use. It's just been slightly repurposed, slightly altered, changed up for what it's doing, but works very well and is easy to carry around as a study journal, study book. Okay, now what happened to my big fat journal? This one, the one that I love so much and got for my birthday, is still full. It's still got lots in it. It has changed slightly. This was holding my tarot journal. It doesn't anymore because I found that when I was moving around the house, my tarot journal needed to be near my cards where I'd have 2 or 3 decks. This, however, I could just take with me into the garden and do whatever I wanted to do with it because it had most of what I needed inside, other than a pen, which I just take with me. So it's got quite a few lectern style books and things in here. That's how large it is. So I have my art journal, which some of you have seen. So here's a sneaky peek at what's going on in here. So we have childish art, we have whimsical art, we have inspired by the cards that I pull, we have I don't know what to call this, multi thingy. Oh dear, not textiles, you know what I mean. Anyway, there we go. So we have lots of that going on. I did sign up for Willowing with Tamara Laporte to do a few of her classes and a few of her freebies, and there's people on YouTube that I follow as well, and it's just, you know, lots of different things. This one here is a New Year's one that I did for the 12 Nights of Yule, which is a Slavic solstice tradition. So I've got a piece of art there, and my final 13th wish, which won't be put into my wish burning list, will get stuck onto here to remind me that that's the one that I have to work towards with my goals, which is a really nice tradition for those of you that want to look that up. Again, some collage art, being an angel, the fun owls, some more Patrick inspired artwork, and that's as far as I've got in there with that one. So yeah, it's a privilege to see into there. I have the book in here that I was using, because the rest I've been listening to on audiobooks, so I haven't swapped this one out. I haven't really finished using it. Then I have my study journal for the books. I say study journal, it's just a notes journal, okay? So just making notes about pages, things that I want from there. As you can see, my world of plants and herbs hasn't made it into here yet. And then yeah, so that's that one. My book of anything random. So that one is a slow filler, because that's usually dreams and synchronicities, so I don't get a lot of that to put in here. My hand lettering book, so this is me, my handwriting book. Very rarely do I come back to this, but I do occasionally, just to remind me how to write small and neat and tidy, and to try and get the memory muscle running in my hands, because I don't write anymore. It's very rare that I write. Then I have my what was this one? What did I call this? So my seasonal journal, which is my Coraline journal. And it had, I don't know, I think it had like 8, 10 kind of sections in it. And you can see I've put little tabs down here because I decided I didn't need that. But what I did do was, I think I've got them for months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, not quite months, but seasonal nonetheless. Let's have a look at what we did. So we started with the summer solstice. And then we moved into August. So summer solstice is June. So we had a little bit about June, summer solstice, what's going on, things around me. Midsummer's night, working with the sun. And summer solstice took us into July. So we've got July in the world around me. Making protection salts, and then a couple of pages left. So when I come around to it again this year, I can add to it, or next year, you know. So there's pages that I can add to. I haven't ended that chapter. So for August, there we go, world around me in August. So a bit about August, world around me, and then a couple of pages where I can come back and fill in. We have September, which is the autumn equinox, also known as Mabon, or the second harvest for other people. Not really something I focus on. We're more about the harvest as opposed to the word. and some information about that, and then the world around me, my garden and what's going on around me in September, and pages to come back to. September's not a big month here for me, so it doesn't need a lot of space. October, so I've got information in here about October, my kitchen as I decorated it, and lots of pages in here. So I had lots of things I wanted to get in but ran out of time to do. So I've got a protection jar there that I'd make for October, or upgrade, and then I'll do some food and drinks because I like to have parties, so that'll go into here. And then I have a couple of pages left, and I have left pages to come back to because there'll be favourites in there for cocktails and all sorts that'll come through. Even more pages. There we go. I have big things planned then for October. November. So in November we have All Saints Day, All Souls Day, Guy Fawkes Armistice, and Mischief Night, as in nights that I am very familiar with. So those ones I've started writing in. You see I haven't written about Guy Fawkes, got Mischief Night there, Guy Fawkes, Armistice Day still to do. And then I have a page here with the history of my grandparents and how they came into this country. So I've written this down, and I will turn it into a more permanent copy, but for the minute it's just pencil. And they had a really hard time coming in. They came through in 1930 something, no, maybe 1940, in the war. My gran went through 2 prisoner of war camps, and her story really is quite sad. She won't tell it, in fact it's so harrowing. She was in a Russian and a German prisoner of war camp, so yeah. And then November is my anniversary of my partner, and I decided to put a page in here for our anniversary, creating rituals, things that we can do, things that we like to do together, some of our favourite things really for creating ritual. And space so that I can come back and do the world around me in November, and maybe even our favourite dinner, recipes that we like. December, here we come into December, so it's nice and easy. Haven't really done a lot for December either because December was ridiculously busy in work, and I've new job and learning. So I've got a card there to remind me of Yule. In fact, this was in another book, so I've moved it across to this book. And then what I've done, so December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah, so that basically takes me through the entire year. There's nothing in there for those other than the markers. May's a big one because we have Beltane, I have my birthday, and then it takes us into the summer solstice. Yeah, no, yes. Yes, am I right? Summer solstice? When did we say that was? Oh dear. Yes, June. And in the very back there, I have a Shadowworks book journal, which is a journal that you can work through with prompts, or you can just scribble it down into your own private journal workbook so that you can reuse this, revisit it, or hand it on. So that's in the very back. That is what happened to my gorgeous fat journal. And this is one of the books I've been using for my art journaling by the lady, as I said, Tamara Laporte, from Willowing Art. So that is those. Right, that's part 1 of my journals and where I've got to with them. So I will stop here and I will record part 2 in a moment with how I move through with my 2022s. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.